President Trump taking things into his own hands when it comes to Obamacare.
President Trump plans to cut off subsidy payments to insurers. That would be the administration's most aggressive move yet to dismantle Obamacare.
He signed an executive order to try to reshape the nation's health care system.
This will cost the United States government virtually nothing.
President Trump is set to announce later today, we believe, the fate of the Iran nuclear deal at the White House.
At the very first negotiating session, the Iranians told the U.S. that ending enrichment was off the table, and we should have walked out of the room right then.
General John Kelly making a surprise appearance before the press.
Talk about frustrations. What are his frustrations right now?
One of his frustrations is you, all of you. Not all of you, but many of you. It is astounding to me how much is misreported. I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe develop some better sources.
All right, hey, joining us right now, we got the former deputy campaign manager for Donald Trump and somebody who was with ELO for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm
Electric
not that
cello,
old.
right?
Yeah, my daughter
plays the cello.
My daughter does play the cello. Yeah.
That's right.
I missed her concert last night doing Brian's show.
How many years has she been playing?
A lot of years. She's a junior in high school and plays a tremendous cello.
In fact, can we have some tape? Can we roll it?
I should have sent it.
Sorry,
My wife sent it to me because I missed it.
You know what? If you've got an Alexa, we'll just hack into it and listen to it at home from the last segment. All right, David is joining us. Breaking overnight, we know yesterday the President of the United States signed an executive order making it easier for folks to buy insurance across state lines. And this morning, the news is that the administration is going to stop the bailouts to insurance companies. And he just tweeted this out in the last hour.
He said the Democrats' Obamacare is imploding. Massive subsidy payments to their pet insurance companies has stopped. Dems should call me to fix.
But he also says if Lamar Alexander and Patty Murray work out a deal in Congress, he might restore the $7 billion. But Congress was supposed to put that in there. The previous president put it in himself because they needed subsidies to keep this thing alive.
This has been a major frustration for the president. This is not what he wanted to do, obviously. He wanted to have Congress fix it. He wanted to repeal and replace.
He had a majority in the Senate.
And John McCain single-handedly saved Obamacare. And then you have other senators who obviously participated in derailing it. Yeah, well, and others. And so I think that this president has said, I made a promise to the American people, and now I'm going to keep it. So I look at it as a promise made, promise kept. Once again, that he is saying, I'm taking it on the power that I have through executive order, which is not law, but it is an executive order that is going to allow him to take steps to force Congress to handle it.
But, David, you know, a federal judge, after the Republican Party sued the administration, a judge came back and said, the Republicans are right. These payments to the insurance company, this bailout, is illegal.
Exactly, and that's what this president is trying to solve. He's saying, I can do only certain things with an executive order. This is one of them, and I'm going to take action because this is so important to the future of our healthcare system and the future of our economy that I have to take this action. And I don't want to do it, but Congress is forcing my hand.
Of course, Democrats are not happy with it. Some are saying it's spiteful. Some are saying sabotage. This is what Nancy Pelosi had to say.
I don't know what he's putting out today, but I do know it is a sabotage of the Affordable Care Act and, quite frankly, a real disservice to the American people.
How does she know? She hadn't read it. She said, I don't know what he's putting out today.
Well, she didn't know what was in the bill till it was passed. So let's remember, this is not her first rodeo in jockeying with language. She's going to be against it. That's a good thing. That means the president is doing the right thing, and he's going to force them to have to take action.
And just so you know, as you know, Obamacare was something that really hurt the Democrats for years, and they put it around their neck. You could say the Republicans had success running against it, but the words that they're using, the messaging they're saying, is sabotage. So now as it collapses, they're going to try to pin it on President Trump. And you know communications matter. Do you think he's prepared to push back on that?
Absolutely. He has said from day one, since his first day of his candidacy, Obamacare is failing. It is imploding on itself. The American people have no choices in most of the three-quarters of the counties in America today. No choices. Only one provider. The premiums, whether it's in Arizona or any other state, have skyrocketed. I was in a store the other day, and the guy who runs the store, little mom and pop store, said to me, Dave, they are doubling my premium, and they're killing me. I don't know how to solve this problem, and that is what average Americans are seeing in their premiums, and that's why the president's
going to... Do you know where Americans go now if they are able to buy insurance across state lines and there's more competition? How do they look into that? Where do they go to find
associations?
I don't know the ansers yet, but I think that'll come in days.
Maybe we can give you your cell number.
Please do. The help desk.
What is David's cell number?
There you go.
All right, some other news today. It sounds like the president is going to decertify the Iran nuke deal. When he was running, it was very clear. He thought it was a gigantic giveaway to the Iranians. It was a bad deal for the United States of America. Now it's going to kick the can back to Congress. They'll have 60 days to figure out. We had somebody on earlier who was one of the guys taken hostage by the Iranians. He says it's about time. Listen to this.
The Obama administration had an idea that they were going to be the ones to have the magic surprise of foreign policy. From the very first, the Iranians told us that they were not going to end the enrichment of uranium, and there's no reason for the Iranians to enrich uranium other than to have a bomb. And evidently, at the very first negotiating session, the Iranians told the U.S. that ending enrichment was off the table, and we should have walked out of the room right then.
They also put off the table any reduction in terror activities throughout the region, and they didn't walk away. All he did is give in. What's interesting is he's not just walking away from the deal. He's not asking to reimpose sanctions, so he's not going to ask Congress to do that. He's not abandoning the agreement. He'll blame the president in his speech today for signing the deal and creating havoc in the region. He's going to look to deny Iran funds for their terror activities and call the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, a terror organization.
Again, the president has been very clear on this since he started his campaign for president almost a year and a half, 2 years ago. This is another promise made, promise kept. And he is, again, showing the American people that Congress is broken. He's going to show just how ineffective they are by sending it back to them and saying, you now, under Corker Cardin, I believe, have 60 days to review and come back.
Right.
They can't tie their shoes. They can't order lunch in 60 days.
It'll be interesting.
It's going to be a very educational
they got tax reform, they got immigration reform. Absolutely. They want to get it all done before Christmas.
Yeah, and they're working 2.5 days a week.
But no,
so it's kind of hard to get anything done.
The House is going to stay in session.
Good.
According to Paul Ryan.
I love the leadership doing that. I think it's the right move. It's the right message to the American people. We're staying here to get your work done.
Did you see yesterday General Kelly walked into the briefing room and he had some advice for the media because so many people are spreading rumors that he wants to leave the job. This is what he had to say yesterday in the briefing room at the White House.
I'm not quitting today. I don't believe, and I just talked to the president, I don't think I'm being fired today. I am not so frustrated in this job that I'm thinking of leaving. I would just offer to you the advice I'd say, maybe develop some better sources. Some person that works way down inside an office or just develop some better sources.
And essentially what he was saying is, whatever your sources are, the assembled White House press pool, sometimes they're not right. It's somebody down the food chain, hey, I got a scoop. They call a reporter, next thing you know, it's on their website, and it's wrong.
Certainly, and that's gone on in administration after administration.
For years.
We've all seen that. But General Kelly walked into that press briefing room and really showed that he is he's a 4-star Marine Corps general, and he kind of educated the press, I think, a little bit about himself and his style. And I was impressed. I thought he did a great job. I thought he handled the press corps in an incredible way.
Can I ask you a question? How often do you wake up and you open a major newspaper and you read something that you know for a fact is just not right?
Oh, every day, every single day.
Seriously?
Every day. There's stories
about
that
big
are
stuff?
But the pervasive problem of look at the Vanity Fair piece that was about why, one of the reasons that General Kelly, not one of the reasons that he came to the podium, but talking about the infighting and how much he hated it and he's going to leave. And it's all fake news. It's why the president continues to say the mainstream media is fake news. They want to perpetuate these stories. They want to continue the stories to sell newspapers. And let me just say this. He's doing a great job. He's trying. And when the mainstream media says he's not dealing with issues, he's only dealing with Putin or all these problems.
He goes over their head.
Can I just get a question in? What about when he came out and said out loud, I hate everybody at the White House?
It's fabricated. It never happened.
What about when Steve Bannon told him you have only a 30% chance to complete your 4 years? You talked to Steve Bannon last night.
I did. And Steve said he absolutely never said that. It is a complete fabrication. And I absolutely, look, Steve and I are working towards President Trump's re-election. We are working hard. Steve Bannon is out there working hard. He doesn't believe any of that. He believes the president is going to get re-elected.
Has it backfired on the mainstream media?
I think the American people are waking up to the fact that they have such a hatred for this president that they can't tell a straight story anymore. And it's an unfortunate place for our media to be.
Right. And on the outside, it must be frustrating. Thanks, Dave Bossie. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
See you on radio in a little while. Sorry about the Nationals. 9-8.
Terrible.
All right.
Hi, Joe.
Once again,
It is Friday, so you can smile a bit.
We got that going for us, right? Good morning to you guys. Good morning to you at home as well. Let's begin with a breaking news story. We want to give you some information on. The American woman and her family, freed from the Taliban, have just boarded a plane out of Pakistan. The flight reportedly bound for London, but their final destination is unclear. Caitlin Coleman and her husband, who is from Canada, had been held since 2012. They have 3 young children, all born while in captivity. The Trump administration working with the Pakistani military to carry out the rescue. House Speaker Paul Ryan sending a strong message to Congress to get them moving on a tax deal.
We're going to keep people here till Christmas if we have to. I mean, I don't care. We got to get this done. I mean, it's just that important.
The warning comes as Ryan says Congress is on track to pass tax legislation this year. The goal is for the House to pass it to the Senate by next month. And the Chicago Cubs once again heading to the NLCS, the defending World Series champs, carrying a 9-8 lead into the 9th inning, closing the door on the Washington Nationals for the victory. The Cubs celebrating their Game 5 win with champagne in the locker room. They play the Los Angeles Dodgers tomorrow night. And Ainsley, I'm sorry to say that in this locker room anyway, we're not seeing the American flag speeder or whatever the heck we saw earlier in the week.
No, we're seeing so much champagne being wasted.
Right.
Wasted.
Wasted.
All right. And a lot of goggles.
All right. Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you, Jillian. All right. We have a Fox News alert. An officer overnight appearing to have been targeted and killed for wearing a uniform. Oh, no. The breaking news just coming in.
Then we all know what Hillary Clinton has been up to lately. She's been on what seems like the world's longest book tour. But the real question is, where's her husband, Bill? Well, we have the inside scoop from Ed Klein.
We are back with a Fox News alert. A New Orleans police officer is shot and killed in an ambush attack.
The suspect opening fire on police officers as soon as they got out of their patrol car.
All right, so Rob Schmidt's been following this story all morning and has the latest. Hey, Rob.
Yeah, guys, and we're still trying to figure out a motive here. At this point, it's unclear if what prompted the attack, although it does appear that the officer killed was part of a group of 4 officers on routine patrol at an apartment complex in East New Orleans, one of the most dangerous parts of that city, when the gunman opened fire on them. It appears just one officer was shot. Police not giving out a lot of information at this time. No details on the officer's identity at this point, but just one of the 4 was shot. We do know police fired back at the killer and wounded him. A local newspaper reporting right now that the killer ran off and hid in an apartment and eventually surrendered after a couple hours of negotiation sometime around 3 o'clock this morning. The suspect was arrested and taken to the hospital. He was shot as well, of course. Here's the police chief and the mayor at a press conference very early this morning.
There was a subject who fired upon our officers, striking one of our officers several times.
We talk to these officers at their graduation, and of course we say this all the time about how dangerous this job really is, and unfortunately tonight, you know, our worst nightmares, you know, have come to be.
It certainly is a dangerous job. The chief of police has already spoken to the officer's family. The big unanswered question this morning is, guys, whether or not this was a planned attack where it was an ambush on a police officer or a group of police officers, or if the killer was doing something, didn't want to get caught evading police for another reason. That's what we still have to figure out, and that's what we're waiting to have an answer on. We'll get that later this morning, I hope.
Awful story out of East New Orleans. All right, Rob, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on this Friday, we all know what Hillary Clinton has been up to. She's on a book tour, one of the longest of all time. But the real question is, where is her husband? Our next guest says the two of them are not talking, and he's got some other stuff you haven't heard anywhere else.
And Old Glory is flying again after flags were stolen. The patriotic way police saved the day.
Some quick Friday morning headlines for you. First up, nearly 50 American flags found burned at a Veterans Memorial Park just outside of Los Angeles. The container set on fire was meant to collect worn and torn American flags for the Boy Scouts to properly retire. One person under arrest. And another community falling victim to a flag thief. Police officers and a former military member or two going above and beyond the call of duty to replace Old Glory at several homes in a Utah neighborhood. Multiple families reported missing flags throughout the summer. Police officers still looking for suspects in that case.
Hillary Clinton continuing her What Happened book tour as she does new claims that she and her husband, former President Bill Clinton, aren't speaking, and he was heartsick over the book.
Over the book, not that they're not speaking. It's all in the soon-to-be-released book called All Out War, the Plot to Destroy Trump.
All right, the author, Ed Klein, joins us right now. All right, Ed, we're about to talk about, we're going to talk about the relationship of Bill and Hillary regarding the publication of this book. But first, what are your sources?
One of my sources, I've got sources both with Bill and his inner circle and also with Hillary. I've been using these sources for 10 or 12 years already, so they've always proved correct.
Where's the tension?
The tension is that, listen, these two have been in the past not talking, like with the Monica Lewinsky scandal, but I think this time it's more important. And as I say in this new book, All Out War, he went to her a month before the election and said, look, I've done inner polling, my own polling, and it shows that you are losing this election. She said, you're nuts. Everybody tells me I'm winning. He said, you're not polling, number one. They stopped polling.
True.
And number two, you haven't spent any time in the Rust Belt states. And she said, you know, you don't understand modern data collection techniques, Bill. You're really out of touch. And basically, she called him an old fool. And she didn't listen to him. And then when she wrote the book, she gave him 2 boxes full of these manuscripts, and he took a red pencil to it and tried to edit the book, and she would have nothing to do with it. And he told her she looked angry and out of touch, and she wouldn't listen to him.
We asked her time and time again to come on our show, and she refused to do it. And some of her people, some of the people that have worked for her for a long time that I'm friends with, have said that was one of her biggest mistakes, because we have a lot of independents that watch our show, and she could have gotten some of those votes. Now, I've heard they don't live together. What's the latest with them?
They haven't lived together for a long time. Once in a while, they got together for photo ops and things like that, but he spends almost half his time down in his library
He's got an apartment on the last floor, right?
He's got a penthouse apartment in Little Rock. He has parties there often. She doesn't know what his personal life is, and they actually haven't talked about their personal lives, but they've been on the phone together for years and years talking about politics. But now that she's lost, it looks to me like the Clinton dynasty is over, and they don't have much to talk about anymore.
Well, it looks like he was right, and her campaign team which was the most expensive ever assembled in world history, they blew it.
You know, Charlie Rose once called Bill Clinton the greatest political animal of our time, and he is.
Right.
He really is. He's brilliant, and she would not listen to him.
Harvey Weinstein, talk about this relationship and the disingenuousness that I think I picked up 2 days ago when she finally spoke about it 5 days into one of the biggest scandals I can remember.
Now, the Clintons were very close, as you know, to Harvey Weinstein. He gave her tons and tons of money. Bill Clinton hung out with Harvey in Hollywood with all the girls and so forth. They knew about this, as did almost everybody, by the way, in Hollywood. I knew about Harvey Weinstein years ago. I mean, it was not a secret, and it certainly wasn't a secret to the Clintons.
Well, one of the things Mrs. Clinton said was, of course I'll return the money, but I can't, there's nobody to return the money to there.
Yeah, well, you know, she could take the money and give it to...
the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, exactly. right, where it always goes anyway, right?
What has happened to the Clinton Foundation since the election?
Nobody's donating to it anymore. Why should they?
No influence.
When they were possibly going back to the White House and could do FCC and FDA and all these regulatory things for people, tons and tons of money flowed into the Clinton Foundation. Now there's no reason for it.
Is it true that he threw her book in the trash can?
Yes. When she said, you know, you're an old fool, you don't know what you're talking about, he took these boxes of manuscripts and he threw them in the trash.
Well, to me, that isn't exactly the pillow talk you're used to between couples.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Ed Klein, we'll look forward to your book coming out in a couple of weeks.
We did reach out to her campaign. Oh, sorry, we're going to talk about the book, but we did reach out to her campaign, and they declined a comment. But congratulations on the new book.
Thank you very much.
When does it come out?
October 30th.
October 30th.
And it's
So we can pre-order it
pre-orderable
now.
on Amazon right now.
Okay, good
What's the
deal.
name?
It's called All Out War, The Plot to Destroy Trump.
All right. I didn't even pick that up. It seems to be going so smoothly. All right. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Hey, coming up straight ahead, Sanctuary City's on notice. The warning, to get in line or else.
And former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, not out of the woods yet. Could she still be questioned about the Clinton server scandal? Oh, boy.
American flags flying outside of Fox News right here on 6th Avenue. We are always so thankful for the men and women who serve our military, and today we are celebrating the Navy's 242nd birthday.
That's right. And joining us right now is Captain Kevin McGowan and students from the Naval Command College class of 2018.
Woo! That's Leah.
Very good.
Tell us what the college does, the Command College.
So, Steve, just first, thank you, Fox and Friends, for having us here. It's an honor and privilege to be in New York for the Navy's 242nd birthday. This is a very, very special program in our 61st year. This is 50 officers from around the world who are gathered together for a year studying at the Naval War College, really focused on peaceful use of the seas, sea power, partnership, and as you know, maintaining peaceful use of the seas is very much a team sport, and the Navy truly values all of our allies and partners.
How much do you look back at what the Navy has accomplished up to this point?
Oh, a great deal, a great deal. So we cannot, think about the future without also thinking about our history. And the War College has been around since 1884. It's the oldest of the war colleges. And so looking back on Navy success just helps us think about the future.
Leah, we wanted to bring you into this segment, too, because you have fought for our country. Obviously, you work here at Fox News Channel. What does today mean for you now that the Navy is celebrating so many years?
You know, Ainsley, serving in the United States Navy has been the great honor of my life. And I think today I'm just really thinking about the men and women, the young men and women who have volunteered to go out and serve our country and to be deployed worldwide to protect our freedom. And I'm just so honored to be part of all of that, Ainsley.
And look at the Navy is going back to the sail and away from engines. Is this true?
That's not really true, sir.
It's such a beautiful cake from our friends over at Carlos. The cake boss made you guys.
Oh, my goodness.
You want to pick up the
I very much
sword
would, sir. Thank you. So, in recognition of the 242nd birthday of the United States Navy, I cut this cake.
All right.
Very good.
You know, the cake boss makes it tough.
I'm going to have to go right through there. Very, very good.
Sharpen up bayonets for the British.
Thank you. Very, very good.
Yes.
Thank
you
you.
so much for your service.
Thank you.
Anyone hungry? So I guess we just have two pieces.
Oh, do I actually have to cut a real piece?
Well,
get these guys some sugar.
I can do that, sir.
All right, there you go.
Very, very good.
That's wonderful.
All right, there you go.
You know, look at these faces. Look at these men, women's faces. They are the ones that give up so much for our great country and go and serve.
We are so honored and grateful. God bless you all. God bless you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, one of the things I don't know if you can really tell, but it is kind of chilly here in New York City, and Janice has got the weather.
I'm going to do the weather, but I have a special guest. Are you going to come out here, sir? Sure. Come here. What's your name? And where are you from?
Sanders Snowden from Memphis, Tennessee.
And you're from Memphis. Tell me about your service.
So I've hit 20 years this week being in the Marine Corps. And I've enjoyed every minute of it.
You want to do the weather with me, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what is the weather here in New York City?
The weather looks amazing right now. It looks like it's about 60 degrees and partly cloudy.
What are you doing right now? You want to be my assistant?
I would love to be your assistant.
Do you want to say hi to anybody at home?
I do. I want to say hello to my lovely wife, Holly, and the kids, and to Mom and Dad in Memphis, Tennessee.
How about a TV career after this?
That sounds great.
Are you going to let him do the weather, though?
You want to do the weather?
No, I have no.
He did a fantastic job. Didn't he do a fantastic job?
Keep a map to analyze. Keep a map to analyze. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So here in New York City, a little cooler than average. We do have fires across California, unfortunately. Looking at elevated fire danger for Northern California, Southern California. This is going to be our big story, not only today, but through the weekend. We have firefighters out there with unprecedented conditions. Unfortunately, we're going to be dealing with not only the lack of moisture, but very gusty winds across the Northwest because of that system. So they're getting the rain across the Northwest, but it's not getting into areas that really need it. There are the dry conditions that remain in the forecast for the next 5 to 7 days. So we're watching California, and look at that relative humidity, very, very low in the forecast. So this is something we're going to be watching over the next couple of days.
It is chilly here in New York. My wife just sent me a text message. Can you please turn on the heat upstairs?
Well, we all know, too, because Ainsley's wearing her winter coat.
I know.
That is a bellwether.
That's a sign. And I'm eating cake.
Good news, we're cutting the cake. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
We love you.
Thanks so much. You're getting some cake coming your way.
Hey, Brian, this one's for you.
Remember,
Meanwhile,
clean the sword
Jillian.
before you put it back in the holster.
Okay, we'll do that. Jillian's in the warm studio right now. Jillian, what's coming up in the headlines?
But I don't have cake in here. Can you bring me
bring you some?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
This
All
is
right,
a big piece.
Good. Good morning. Let's get you caught up on the headlines of the day. For the first time, we are getting to hear that sound that may be linked to mysterious sonic attacks that physically hurt 22 American diplomats in Cuba, some victims who even got brain damage. They say it sounded something similar to this, which, by the way, we want to tell you has been deemed safe for you to listen to. The State Department has yanked 60% of U.S. staff out of Havana since the attacks. Cuba has denied any involvement. Loretta Lynch isn't out of the woods just yet. The former Attorney General, along with UN Ambassador Samantha Power, will have to answer questions from congressional investigators about Russia's alleged election meddling. Power will meet with the White House Intelligence Committee today. Lynch heads to Capitol Hill next week. The panel is also expected to hear her press her on Hillary Clinton's private email server and the unmasking of Trump campaign ads. Is your Halloween costume racist? If you're not sure, Ohio State University students put together this flow chart to help you figure it out. The chart, as you can see, it is in a student magazine, supports costumes that make fun of President Trump, but it warns white students not to dress up as Prince or wear traditional headwear from other cultures. So most people like celebrating the end of the work week, but this high school custodian lives for it. Watch.
Get hot, guys! All day, get it up there! Woo! Woo!
Kevin Freeman greets New Hampshire students with dance moves and high fives every Friday. His coworker posted the video on Facebook calling him, quote, the coolest custodian around. Can't disagree with that one. High fives.
All right, very nice. Thank you very much, Jillian. And Captain, what did you just present to us?
I just presented you a plaque that's representing the 51 officers from 49 countries in the Naval Command College class of 2018.
That's why they all have different colored uniforms.
That goes right in our green room. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you all.
All right, meanwhile, straight ahead on this Friday, the Justice Department putting sanctuary cities on notice. Get in line or else. Former DOJ official Christian Adams joins us live next.
And remember the state lawmaker punished after hoping for President Trump's assassination? Think she learned her lesson? Think again. Wait till you hear what she just said that's making headlines this morning.
Who wants Pete? Okay, here we go.
All right, some quick headlines right now. Let's begin with the FBI. They are now investigating whether local officials are mishandling FEMA supplies to Puerto Rico. There you see them depicted in that shot. The feds receiving complaints that critical supplies are being withheld. One official is accused of stuffing his car full of goods. We heard this was going to happen. And President Trump is nominating another woman for the top spot, and there she is. She's sitting there right in the back for his administration. She will be the new, she was the former cybersecurity expert, Kristen Nielsen. Now she'll be Homeland Security Secretary. She takes over John Kelly, who, by the way, is now the chief of staff. That he has been confirmed. She now has to be confirmed by the Senate, and the president's saying, can we pick up the pace just a little bit? Speaking of picking up the pace, let's go downstairs. Stephen Ainsley said that there.
All right, Brian, thank you. The showdown over sanctuary cities continues. The Department of Justice issuing a last chance warning to these jurisdictions. Comply with the law or risk losing millions of dollars in federal dough.
Here to react to this is former DOJ official J. Christian Adams, who now works at the Public Interest Legal Foundation. Great to see you.
Morning.
Good morning. What's your reaction to this?
This is a good thing. Jeff Sessions should be applauded for this tough stance against lawlessness. Sanctuary cities are havens of lawlessness where illegal aliens and corrupt politicians are not doing anything about the illegal aliens, and they're colluding with them to not cooperate with federal authorities when they catch them. That's against federal law, and Jeff Sessions is right to say you're not going to get federal money if you're not going to follow federal law.
Jay Christian, explain to me, and our viewers get it, if something is against the law, it's just against the law, and you've got to cooperate with the feds. But how have they gotten away with it so long?
Well, because Barack Obama was president and Eric Holder was the attorney general, and they allowed it to happen, and they didn't enforce federal law because they agreed with the policies. Steve, this is all about politics. Democrats run these cities like Philadelphia, Chicago, New Orleans, the places that are sanctuary cities and counties. They like these policies because it helps them win elections. Don't forget, illegal aliens' children will be eligible to vote in 18 years, but it's worse than that, Steve, because illegal aliens and aliens are getting on the voter rolls in places like Philadelphia. We have found alien registrations in Philadelphia. They are voting, so it helps Democrats win elections to have sanctuary cities.
How do they get to vote? How is that even fair?
Well, look at Pennsylvania. There's a huge scandal right now in Pennsylvania that we originally found a year ago that aliens were on the rolls in Philadelphia, because all you have to do is mark a box that says you're a citizen. You can lie. It's an honor system all around the country. So that's how aliens are getting on the voter rolls. But in Philadelphia, it's worse because some of them actually marked no, that they weren't a citizen, but Philadelphia election officials registered them anyhow.
Well, let's see. So Jeff Sessions is going to give them the last chance. My question to you, Jay Christian, is, all right, for these 5 or so jurisdictions, big sanctuary cities, what is the possibility they're actually going to go, you know what, you're right, we're going to start following the law?
Well, if you know anything about Democrats, they're addicted to federal dollars. So my hope is that they will say, you know what, the millions of dollars that people in Iowa and Wisconsin and South Dakota are paying to politicians in Philadelphia, the politicians in Philadelphia are going to say, you know what, we want millions of dollars. But you never know. Ideology runs pretty deep in these places, and I would also not be surprised if they say, well, it's worth it for us to have all of these aliens in this city because we want a permanent transformation politically to take place there.
The Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, did release this statement. He said, I urge all jurisdictions found to be out of compliance in this preliminary review to reconsider their policies that undermine the safety of their residents. What's your reaction?
It needs to go beyond these 5 places. There's sanctuary cities all over the country. Essex County, New Jersey, we found more aliens on the rolls there. These are sanctuary counties right outside New York City, where entire counties are sanctuaries to illegal aliens. The policy that Jeff Sessions is doing is great, but it needs to go beyond these 5 places. You know,
When we did hear about how they, a couple of months ago, where they were talking about how jurisdictions might lose these grants, it was just, I think it was $2 million in Chicago alone. But you say, forget about that. Cut off all the federal funds.
Well, wouldn't that be nice? But the immediate way they can solve this, of course, is the law enforcement grants. Look, the federal law says if you want federal money, you have to cooperate with immigration authorities. And so this is the easiest money to cut off. But frankly, Congress ought to look at something far more effective, because most of these big cities, they couldn't survive without federal handouts.
Okay. Well, Jeff Sessions is going to come on. He's going to talk about his statements that he made in about 40 minutes. So stick around for that. Thank you, J. Christian Adams, for being here with us.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Meanwhile, coming up on this Friday, he was by the president's side as he signed the executive order on health care yesterday. Senator Rand Paul here with the path forward on repeal and replace.
And Navy pilots have been reporting problems with their planes, as you know. Former F-18 pilot Leah Gabriel, she got an inside look at how it is being fixed now, and she joins us live with the exclusive report.
But first, on this date in 1792, the White House cornerstone was laid.
And in 2011, 33 Chilean miners, remember this, were rescued after 2 months
and they made
underground.
A movie out of it. That's right. And in 2000, Christina Aguilera was topping the charts with her hit, Come On Over, Baby.
I didn't think I'd ever hear you say that, Steve.